For our mini message today, we're going to be in verses 3 through 7 of Genesis chapter 20. And this is a straight continuation of this narrative from verses 1 and 2. So if you haven't listened to 1 and 2 yet, definitely encourage you to go back, find the previous days, and look at it first. So Abraham has once again said, Sarah is my sister instead of my wife. He's repeating a sin pattern. She's been taken in by this king Abimelech of the city of Gerar. Now, one of the things to always remember with these guys being called kings during this time, most of them weren't actually really kings as we think of, like, controlling and ruling a country. They basically ruled a city and maybe, a few miles around it. So it was more of like a city-state type situation, like in ancient Greece that you learn about in school and things. That's what's happening here. That we don't need to think of this king as being like, the Pharaoh of Egypt in the book of Exodus, or a Roman emperor, or the king of England in the 1500s. This is a totally different kind of scenario. But yet he controlled this little area, and he's taken Sarah in. So look at verse 3. But that night God came to Abimelech in a dream and told him, "You are a dead man, for that woman you have taken is already married." That's a frightening thing to have God say to you. You're a dead man. That's strong, and God can follow up on that threat, right? If God says you're a dead man, I think you can take it to the bank. Look at verse 4. But Abimelech had not slept with her yet, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Didn't Abraham tell me she is my sister? And she herself said, he is my brother. I acted in complete innocence. My hands are clean." And in the dream, God responded, "Yes, I know you're innocent. That's why I kept you from sinning against me, and why I did not let you touch her. Now return the woman to her husband, and he will pray for you, for he is a prophet. Then you will live. But if you don't return her to him, you can be sure that you and all your people would die." So scary statements coming from God here. He did not know. All right? He thought that she was not married. And as king in this culture, basically he could bring into his harem any unmarried woman that he wanted to. That's how the culture and the kind of the law setup of the time was. So according to his culture and custom, he could do this. Now, was this a custom that God endorsed? No, we don't see that. God talks about very specifically in the book of Genesis. A man shall leave his parents and become one flesh with his wife, right? The two shall become one. God does not endorse, polygamy, but that's what's happening here. That's how this culture worked. But what God was doing more than anything else right here was he was protecting the child of promise. He was protecting Isaac, because he knew the Messiah would come down through this, and he was protecting that. He was also protecting Abraham. Here, Abraham has sinned. But even in the middle of this sin, God doesn't abandon him. God still protects him. God still shows him mercy. Even refers to him as a prophet here. He refers to him in this way. He says, "For he is a prophet, he will pray for you." So Abraham was in sin, but he was still a powerful man, and a powerful man of prayer. So God's mercy didn't leave Abraham even when Abraham sinned. So God's mercy doesn't leave us, but we still deal with the consequences of our sins, right? If we know Christ, it doesn't mean that we lose our salvation upon sinning. But what it does mean is that we're now separated from God relationally, and our sins can cause so many problems throughout our lives, throughout our relationships. Think about how this made Sarah feel. For this to be done to her, not for the first time, but for the second time. That this same sin has been done to her because of Abraham's fear. He didn't protect his wife as he should have. But God still took care of him. When we're at our dumbest, God is at his best. You guys have a great day. We'll see you soon.